Please tell me that it's not too late to cancel this series. I mean, I know Season 2 has already been confirmed, but after the reception this series has received so far, especially after this episode, is there even any point in continuing? Like, does anyone actually want a second season of this? And in case you have no idea why this episode was so terrible and makes me want to see this show cancelled, let's just say that it's the second last episode of the season, and they tried to force a romantic relationship between Master Chief and Maquis. This forced romance plot results in Master Chief literally sleeping with the enemy. Honestly, at this point, I don't think there's anything that can really save this series. Now moving on from the atrocious romance subplot, this episode gives us our first look at what the Covenant are truly capable of, at least the aftermath of what they're capable of, when the UNSC receives a transmission from the planet Criterion, showing them that the planet has been completely glassed. Now I'll admit, they did a really great job on the visuals for the aftermath of a city being glassed. The melted buildings and lava flowing through the streets all looked incredible. But my issue with this scene is that we had absolutely no connection to the planet or the people. So while it was cool to see the aftermath of the glassing, but there's no emotional impact to this scene since the planet had never been seen before. I just wish we had some sort of connection to Criterion, like say spending an episode with the Spartans as they fend off a Covenant attack, only to later find out that the Covenant had completely glassed the planet, and that the UNSC's attempts to rescue it were in vain. But unfortunately, that never happens, and we are just shown some random planet having been destroyed by the Covenant. The other major event that happens this episode is that Master Chief convinces the UNSC to allow Maquis to touch the Forerunner artifact. The UNSC doesn't want Halsey to bear witness to this event, so they decide to send her off-planet before Maquis is able to interact with the artifact. This causes Halsey to go rogue, as she orders Silver Team to abduct Master Chief, Maquis, and the artifact and bring them to her ship, where she will try to unlock the secrets of the artifact on her own. And Halsey also plans to give Cortana full control over Master Chief's body, since she can no longer control him. But then, for whatever reason, Cortana decides that she actually likes Master Chief, despite him absolutely despising her and wanting her removed from his head as soon as possible. And so she betrays Halsey and warns Master Chief that the other Spartans are on their way to apprehend him. Master Chief then sends Maquis to go warn the UNSC leadership about Halsey turning rogue as he tries to fend off Silver Team. While this fight is fun to watch, it does feel extremely one-sided, even after Spartan Kai shows up to aid Master Chief in the fight. And this is mostly due to the fact that this version of Master Chief never wears his armor, so him trying to fight off two fully armored Spartans isn't going to end well for him. Meanwhile, Maquis manages to find Parangovsky and Jacob Keyes and tries to convince them that Silver Team ambushed her and Master Chief on their way to the artifact. Naturally, they are both skeptical of Maquis' story and question how she could have escaped the Spartans if they were after her. But they eventually trust Maquis once she mentions that Cortana warned Master Chief that the other Spartans were coming to apprehend him. And while this episode has made it seem like Maquis genuinely wants to rejoin humanity, the plot actually doesn't want that to happen, and so Miranda Keyes manages to find a way to ruin everything. Back in her lab, Miranda is being summoned to the Forerunner artifact in order to observe Maquis' interactions with it, when she hears that her automated algorithm has managed to decipher the Covenant transmission, and she realizes that the voice is that of Maquis. So of course, Miranda rushes off to the artifact to go warn Parangovsky and Jacob Keyes, and while Maquis tries to defend her actions, the guards begin to attack her. In an act of desperation, she grabs the Forerunner artifact, which pushes everyone in the room away from her, and sends both her and Master Chief's consciousness to the Halo Ring, where she says goodbye to Master Chief, and then the episode just abruptly ends with Master Chief regaining consciousness. And so, with only one episode remaining in the season, we are no closer to any of the characters actually discovering Halo, and the Covenant still have no clue where Reach is, although I'm sure that will change soon enough. But those are just my thoughts on episode 8 of the Halo series. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and until next time, thanks for watching.